Barry here again, and in this video we're going to look at how to use the grass wedge screen. So the grass wedge is the main screen that's going to be used during the main grazing portion of the season, and this is the same screen that appears once you load up, once you save your covers. This screen automatically loads up. And the most important thing, I suppose, in the grass wedge is to, because since we've already entered the covers, the software then knows what the grass covers are, it knows what the growths are, but it doesn't know what the stocking level is like on the day of that particular measurement being done. So in here, what it does is it carries forward the stocking levels from the previous week. So if I measured last Monday and there was 30 cows eating grass, and then this week there might be 40 cows, because it's 7 days later, maybe 10 more cows have calved. And maybe in the space of the last week, we've changed from 5 kilos of grass intake maybe to 8 kilos of grass, and we're feeding maybe less meal. You can change if you change those things, so the cows are increasing, the grass intake is increasing, the meal is reducing, and the silage stays at the same level. So you just enter, if you have autumn cows, you'll fill it along here. If you have dry cows and young stock on the grazing platform, you can fill in the numbers of the different stock types and the relative intake of grass of the different stock types. And you probably update and save that straight away. And you can see these numbers here then. On the daily growth is 17.8, and 24.3 is the growth using the grazed paddocks. And again, we covered that in the video on how to enter covers, the whole idea of recording the pre-covers and the post-covers as the cows go into the paddock and come out of it. The use of the pre-cover and post-covers always end up with a slightly higher growth figure. So if I look at my farm cover, based on my covers put in on this particular day, I'm just short of 2,000. There's 22 hectares measured. Because I have 40 cows out now, I have 40 LU. There's my LU per hectare, my demand per day based on the 40 cows eating the 8 kilos of grass per day. So they're all my key variables as I go down. That's my demand per hectare. I can show, if you enter your fertilizer applications, then the amount of nitrogen that's been applied recently will show up here, and what percentage of the grazing block got that. And it's nice for you to look back over previous wedges and see what level of fertilizer applications did you have up until that particular measurement date. Down here I have my cover per LU, I have the litres per cow per day. That will come through from the milk sales section of the software. My kilogram of milk solid per cow, my milk quality figures, and do I have long-term silage or short-term silage? Do I plan to take those out? So all of those variables will be understandable as you start using the site. One of the things I'll draw your attention to, remember when I came in here it said that there was 30 cows, but I've increased it to 40. Every time you change something in this screen, we store, and you're seeing the wedges again, but draw your attention to what's going on down here. See the way it keeps a record of what you've done. This week you told the software that you've changed from 30 to 40 cows, and you've changed from 5 to 8 kilos of grass, and you changed from 5 to 4. That's automatically recorded. So if you ever look back at historical grass wedges, you can always see what did you do on that particular day to change the pattern of what was going on. All of the text in here is recorded automatically. Over here you can record other notes for yourself. If you choose to do so. It's not essential, but you might decide to do something that you want to draw attention to yourself later on, or indeed somebody else, if you're working with a farm advisor, and they might actually put in notes there for you also. But you can see the shape of the wedge, and then obviously the blue line is your demand line, which is generated from the stock numbers and the grass intake. In terms of the software being interactive, if you decide that this is my heaviest paddock, so if you want to play around with taking it out for silage, if you click on that bar, it comes up with two options, and it says, do you want to take out paddock number 13 for short-term or for long-term silage? If you take it out for short-term silage, then we assume that that paddock is going to be mowed and wrapped around bales very, very quickly, as within the next day or two. In that case, the area in that paddock is still included as the area of the grazing block. If you take out a paddock for long-term silage, then we assume that it's out for quite a period of time, and the area that has been excluded is excluded from the grazing block, so your livestock units per hectare will increase because of that. So if I say in this case I'm thinking of taking it out for, you're just going to put in a plan to take it out for short-term silage. So as soon as you do that, the wedge will redraw, and if I come down here, you can see there's an extra comment See down here it says there's an extra thing, take out for short-term silage. If I can back up, see the way there's a record here that short-term silage, there's one paddock taken out and that becomes 1 hectare. And that will have an impact on your figures. If I come back up here, some of these figures will have changed because we've taken out a certain amount of cover, so the overall farm cover is reduced. So you can try what-if scenarios. If you could try to take out 2 or 3 paddocks for long-term silage or short-term silage. If you decide no, that's not a good thing to do, you can click on reset. And what it does then is you can say, no, I actually don't mean to take that one out for short-term silage at all. Bring it back in. So you see your heavy paddock here is back to where you're no longer taking it out for short-term silage. So there's a variety of things that you can try to play around with the system to see what you can learn. You can change your stock numbers, your grass intake to see how that will change your demand line. So there's a lot of options there and a lot of trial and error things that you can do to for example, one of the other things you can do is you can project a wedge in say 7 days time using a growth rate of, say, if you expect that the grass is going to grow maybe at 30, if you think it's going to grow for 30 for the next week, you could say, look, what will the wedge look like in 7 days time based on a projected growth rate of 30, and what will happen if you just update that, it'll draw what it thinks the wedge will be in 7 days time. That can be interesting at different times of the year. So learn how to use these options, and it's very flexible then to see what you should be doing at this time of the year. When you have your when you have your different settings established the way you want them, if you look in here on data view, what we're doing here is we're just listing all of the paddocks in the order of their cover. So technically paddock number 13 is the next paddock the cows will be going into. So if you want to draw up a list of paddocks that are going to be grazed in the near future, then that would obviously be the logical place to start. If I then click into my grass wedge and back into this screen, it's always nice to have a one-page report. So if, there's 2 varieties of reports, a kind of a fuller report, more detail, and a short report just to get everything onto one piece of paper. So I click on my print one-page report. You can see what we're doing here. It brings up an option to print. But if I look at what I have here, a little summary at the top. I have my wedge with my demand line. See the way I have my little notes here of what I've entered to change the situation this week. And then I have my list of all the paddocks. And that would be a nice printout to have in the parlor as well for the next week. You can obviously put comments in here, maybe grazing dates. As you go through the next week, you might decide to put grazing dates in there. So again, if I want to get back, see this back to grass wedges up here in the top left. And that brings me back to my grass wedge screen. And I think that's all I'm going to show on this particular video. Again, the key to success with the wedge is to just change the settings, have a go at taking silage in and out, have a go at looking at the projected future wedge, and see what you can learn in terms of what you should be doing over the next few days to help manage the grass situation and the stocking situation and the grass intake situation at this particular point in time. One last little point I'll show you again just to make you aware of the help that's available. If you let the mouse hover on over these eye symbols, it'll tell you what's particularly needed in that case. Any place where you feel a bit of help, that we feel you need a little bit of extra help, we'll put some comments. The other thing is if you let the mouse hover over these bars up here, it tells you what each particular bit of data entry is for. And that can be quite useful in particular cases. So I think we'll leave it there for this particular video.